Hey guys, I'm Lauren,
And I'm Audri.
and this is the Midgard Morning Show.
With Thanos?
Today we're going to talk about our first comic review. We are doing the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm going to relay to you for most of the information here.
Cool. I guess first things first, Infinity Gauntlet, published in 1991. Basically chronicles the arc of Thanos coming into possession of the Infinity Stones and basically attempting to destroy everything, because he's Thanos. He's a man. And I guess kind of relating to the MCU, like, we had Infinity War and Endgame, and this is kind of the OG Infinity War Endgame slash type deal. I don't know how to talk. So yeah, this is definitely a lot different than what we see in the MCU, and I know you just read it for the first time, so I'm sure you have a million questions about what the hell just happened, who are all these people, and why is Thanos the way that he is, because to me personally, Thanos in the comics makes MCU Thanos look like a bitch.
I said bitch.
Like, this guy was, in my opinion, way worse and literally, like, insane. So, oh, we just got a new subscriber! High five! Woo!
Alright, and on that note, so yeah, you're 100% right. Thanos is crazy in this comic.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was going into. Like they said, this is the first time I have read this comic.
That was just another text message. I'm sorry. So I guess I'll just real quick kind of give like a brief overview, and then we can get into like all the questions, comments, and concerns that you have. So brief overview of Infinity Gauntlet. Again, similar to the Infinity War Endgame we got in the MCU, but also completely different as well. So when it starts off, Thanos has been resurrected by Lady Death. She resurrected him so he could do her bidding, and basically she wanted him to wipe out half of the population. What wasn't a part of the plan was him obtaining all of the Infinity Stones, and he decided to do that, and then of course once he did that, he was completely unstoppable. She was actually not happy that he did that, so he ends up, doing the snap. And then in the beginning of the comic, it shows, Captain America is in the Avengers headquarters, and we see Hawkeye and Cersei disappear in the snap. And then, of course, we see all the other heroes that have vanished with that, too. Basically, Adam Warlock comes in. If you're unfamiliar with Adam Warlock, I believe it was the second Guardians of the Galaxy post-credit scene. I cannot remember who those people were, but that weird golden lady, and she was like, we will call him Adam, and it showed that cocoon thing. That's Adam Warlock. And he was actually recently just casted in the MCU to be played by Will Poulter. I think I said that right. The guy from Meet the Millers that became the "you guys are getting paid" meme. It's that guy. So he's going to be Adam Warlock in the MCU. But anyway, basically Adam Warlock comes to Doctor Strange, and they put together this team of heroes to go and fight Thanos. And this team of heroes consists of not only the Avengers, but the X-Men, Wolverine and Cyclops. Hulk's in there. Silver Surfer is also in there. I think, kind of reading back over this now, Silver Surfer coming to Strange to warn him Thanos is coming, kind of parallel to Hulk coming back to Earth to warn Strange that Thanos was coming. But it was originally the Silver Surfer, which I feel like we were kind of robbed of seeing. We also have Wanda, we've got White Vision in this, and also fun fact about Vision in the comics, if you didn't know, obviously in the MCU, Vision was created with the Mind Stone, but in the comics, Vision actually never had the Mind Stone. He had, like, solar energy and would project it through this like gem thing out of his forehead, and he could also project it through his eyes. So I don't know if you noticed that while you're reading, you're like, well, Vision's still alive even though Thanos has all the stones, because canonically Vision was never created from an Infinity Stone. But yeah, so that is basically it. We also get the Celestials, the Watchers in here, Love and Hate, Stranger, Lord Chaos. All that stuff is in here, and we will get into it and break this down because it's a lot of information.
So to start out, did Thanos pick his mission, or did Lady Death tell him after that she resurrected him? You mentioned that he had decided to get the stones, but that she had also resurrected him to kind of get rid of half the population. How was that supposed to happen without the stones, though? I mean, was Thanos just supposed to become, like, a crazy soldier?
Super soldier! No, so he obviously had power. When she resurrected him, she did give him more power, and he was kind of already a very powerful being. You know, we saw in the beginning of the comic when he's with Mephisto. For all of you Mephisto-confirmed people, Mephisto was in this, and he was, I would say, a pretty big part of it. There was something called an Infinity Well. And he used that to obtain possession of the stones, although that technically was never part of the plan, because when he shows up in the Hall of Death with Mephisto and he's got the stones, that is when we see Lady Death start to, like, turn him away. She's there physically, but she's just completely ignoring him. And then you see him go on his various tantrums trying to get her attention, and she's, like, literally just not having it.
So basically, he became a soldier for her, and then he decided that he wanted to seek his own power.
Yeah.
And then once he became too powerful, she was like, I didn't ask for you to do that. And quite frankly, it's annoying.
Yeah, especially when he presented Nebula in the form that she was in. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's Lady Death. She may be cold, but she obviously was very disturbed by that. And then again, when we see him torturing his brother Eros, you know, removing his mouth, and the team of heroes shows up, the way that he is, she actually chooses to save Nebula and Eros. She saved them just to spite him. So, good for you, girl.
What a petty bitch. I love it.
Lady Death is not out here taking shit from no man, okay?
Alright, so what is spiritual essence?
Okay, so the whole spiritual essence thing, I'll be honest, I don't really know. I think it's got something to do with the soul gem, because when Adam Warlock is talking to Surfer, Strange, and Doom and everyone, explaining that he had already fought Thanos once, actually the Silver Surfer and Drax the Destroyer, that green guy that you weren't sure who that was Drax the Destroyer. He looks very different in the comics than he does in the MCU.
Looks like Hulk's brother.
Yeah, it's weird. So when they went and fought Thanos, they weren't destroyed, but they were sent to, like, this spiritual realm inside the Soul Stone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See,
and that was where
they went to, like, some planet, and they were like, oh, we ended up here, and our essence is gone, and was like,
that's weird.
And that was where they first met Adam Warlock, and then Adam was able to use his powers to send them back out into reality. So I think the spiritual essence has something to do with just your energy. Like, Surfer and Drax, they weren't dead, but they weren't living. They were essentially trapped inside the spiritual realm of the Soul Gem. Soul Stone. So, yeah.
So, in this, Dr. Doom breaks out of a cocoon, and I don't know about most of you out there, but I have only really grown up with the movies. So I'm thinking back to the original, Fantastic Four movies, and where I think of him is, like, frozen in that, like, metal thing that he's in.
I honestly have not seen the Fantastic Four movies since I was a child, so I honestly don't remember. But anyway, yes.
Yes. So what is that thing? Why
okay.
Is he...
So, and when you had asked me this earlier, I was confused because I was like, when the f*** is he in a cocoon? It wasn't Dr. Doom. It was Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock.
Do you remember in the beginning of the comic where it's following those three random humans that get in the car crash and then they basically come back from the dead and walk off? So those three humans, they did die, and then their bodies were possessed by Pip the Troll, Gamora, and Adam Warlock. So when they're waiting in that hotel room, you notice that the body Gamora was in vanished during the snap.
Yeah.
Thanos obviously did that intentionally. Then when Pip runs into that other room after the cocoon is burst open, that was Adam Warlock coming out of it and going to find Strange. And Dr. Doom was just, like, in his spaceship. When the snap happened, like, everyone knew about it. Even Nick Fury was up in space and was like, they thought maybe there's a mutant that was super powerful that was able to do this, but it wasn't. Dr. Doom was able to trace that energy surge back to the Sanctum Sanctorum where Strange was, and then that is how Doom came in and everyone got together. So yes.
Gotcha. And Doom just caused unnecessary stress to everyone that was there.
Yeah, they were not.
Let me do it.
Basically, you had Iron Man going, hold me back, and Thor literally holding him back because they were not happy. Doom has almost had that same energy that, like, Loki has when Loki's around. It's like no one really wants him there, but too bad you're gonna get him anyway. That was kind of how Dr. Doom was in this too, yeah.
So another thing that was different with this is the people that actually survived the snap are completely different. Spider-Man was one of the first to, go, and we got to watch that terribly beautiful, heartfelt moment of him saying, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And then disappearing, and in this, he actually survives it.
Bruh.
And Hawkeye actually doesn't make it.
Yeah, Hawkeye and Cersei, who actually was an Eternal, they both vanished, and I can actually pull up the list. Yeah, that's the list of the heroes that did disappear in the snap. So we've got U.S. Agent John Walker was around in the comics. Reed Richards, Invisible Woman, The Thing. I think all members of the Fantastic Four actually disappeared in the snap.
Bruh.
Sasquatch. Yeah, I know you're probably like, who the hell are these people? Like, I know I'm telling you, the comic universe is so much more vast, and I really feel like we got robbed. I understand why we couldn't get this Infinity Gauntlet movie because, you know, at the time, Marvel technically didn't own the rights to a lot of these characters, such as the Silver Surfer and the X-Men and such. But to see this in, like, the cinematic universe, I hope that they do it one day, because this would be, as the kids say, off the chain. I would love to see this in a movie, because it's so good. I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. Oh, Wasp. That was another one.
Okay.
Ant-Man's sidekick. She was another one that disappeared in the snap.
Yeah. I was very surprised to see how much power it took to actually defeat Thanos. Because in the MCU, I mean, yes, it would have taken a lot more, and yes, they did need help because ultimately Thanos came with backup. But it seemed like Thor and Captain America were doing a pretty good job at, you know, managing to handle it on their own for a bit.
Yeah.
And in this, they wouldn't have made it 5 to 10 minutes.
Even, like, Scarlet Witch.
Oh, she
didn't stand a chance against him.
At all.
And, yeah, ultimately they got lucky because after the whole battle, Nebula ends up getting the gauntlet, and then they actually end up teaming up with Thanos to take down Nebula. So it's totally different. And the whole battle in space, you know, you've got Thor, She-Hulk, Iron Man, they're all fighting. Adam Warlock and the Silver Surfer are on the side, and that was Adam's plan. That whole battle to him was just supposed to be a diversion until he could bring in, you know, the Celestials. And, of course, the Watcher was there the whole time watching. But, yeah, Thanos, I mean, he literally killed off a lot of... I mean, he killed Cyclops.
Bruh.
He killed Cyclops with the craziest thing I have ever seen. He encases his head in glass so that the beams are refracted back at him.
And also suffocated him.
At
the same time. Like, what a terrible way to die. And then, oh my gosh, what is her name? I can't think of it. I gotta look it up. Hold on.
Araxia?
Yeah!
I'm learning!
Bruh.
It's pretty
I'm actually, that's a very proud moment right now. Yes, Taraxia, so to kind of backtrack a little bit, you know, Lady Death is still, like, completely ignoring Thanos, and now he's having a full-on tantrum, so he literally creates Taraxia to be, like, what he describes as everything Lady Death is not, and she actually ends up killing Iron Man. Like, she shows up and has, like, just ripped his head off.
Bruh.
He still killed Tony Stark. He will always die.
He's just really struggling these days.
He cannot catch a freaking break, like, ever. But yeah, so it's yeah, and it was crazy even to see, like, when Wolverine, he turned, like, Wolverine's adamantium bones into rubber. And, I mean, he turned, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he literally turned one guy into a pile of, like, children's blocks. Like, he just...
Oh!
Yeah.
He's just like, whoop, and he just kind of floats away.
Yeah. And it was crazy. And I am also curious as to what your thoughts on Thor were. Because Thor is very different in this comic.
So in the comic, Thor has, like, a whole alter ego.
Mm-hmm.
And his alter ego is, like, just a plain white guy. Like, a plain, like, just normal dude. And it completely disappears from him the second he lets go of the hammer. Like, at one point, he falls mid-fight, and his hammer, like, lands further away, and he changes back into this normal dude, like, mid-fight.
So, in this, his name is Eric Masterson, and he's not Thor. Because if you remember, in the beginning, when Thor's, like, in the room, he's, like, trying to pretend to be Thor and act like him. His name's Eric Masterson. He's like this normal Joe Schmo white guy. And the whole, I guess, rule of thumb for him is 60 seconds. So when Thanos first knocks Mjolnir, Jonathan, out of his hand, he's like, I have 60 seconds to get this hammer back or I lose the power of Thor. And then we see him turn back into that human form. And before the battle began, I believe it was either Adam Warlock or Strange that casted a spell. And it was like, this spell will allow you guys to breathe in space, but only for 60 minutes. And I guess now that Eric Masterson was no longer in Thor form, that rule no longer applied. So he was suffocating while trying to get this hammer. Obviously, we know he eventually gets it back and becomes Thor again, woohoo, whatever. But yeah.
I want you to know that upset me so much. I'm kind of glad that he is just Thor normally in the MCU. I like that he's so... I'm an alien, and I'm here, and I landed in Vegas. Let's have a party. Like, I love
Viva
that.
Las Vegas!
Viva Las Vegas!
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Eric Masterson.
Yeah, because I remember the first time I read the comic and I saw that, and I was like, wait, what? Thor? What? That's sus, dude. Do you have another question?
I did. How the hell did they go from fighting Thanos to all of a sudden working with Thanos to fight Nebula? But Nebula was kind of chill. Like, she reverses the snap.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, she's cooperating. You could just get rid of Thanos. You didn't really need Thanos.
This whole time, Adam Warlock has an agenda of his own. At some point, he pulled Hulk and Wolverine aside and was like, you know, we need to kill him. But I think when it came down to it, Adam Warlock wanted to keep him alive because he understood how powerful of a being he was. I think ultimately Warlock wanted the gauntlet for himself to ensure that no one else got it. Once Nebula got the gauntlet, I was like, oh shit just got real. I low-key was like rooting for her though. Like I was like, get your revenge, girl. Like
100%. She literally had been stuck in this weird half zombie, half alive form where she was still in full agony. I was low-key rooting for her.
I know.
It's fine.
I was like, go off, queen, kill the universe, I guess. Like, oh, and another thing, when they started the battle, Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer, when they like teleported, they ended up like a light year away from the battle or whatever. And Silver Surfer was angry. He was like, we need to be there helping. He was like, you have some sort of other agenda. Like, what is it? What's really going on? And Warlock didn't tell the Silver Surfer because the Silver Surfer is not like a celestial being, but he's omnipotent. Like, he knows and can sense things happening in the universe. And also, if Warlock would have told him and the Silver Surfer would have known, Thanos would have been able to read his mind and therefore been able to prevent them from doing anything that they had planned. That was the whole plan. The battle was the, like, decoy, distraction, whatever, and then at the last second, the plan was for Silver Surfer to fly in there and grab the gauntlet, which he did, but unfortunately wasn't able to get the gauntlet. In the beginning, Mephisto, being Mephisto, was like, oh, if you really want to impress Lady Death, defeat them without using all of your power. Just use some of it. And so Thanos, after the Silver Surfer nearly got the gauntlet, he was like, well, screw this. I'm going to use all my power. And then that is when he literally just started destroying everything. And then we see Eternity and all the other Celestial and...
That's when Earth gets pulled out of orbit. And then the Celestials start using the planets
as weapons.
Weapons. So they're literally just throwing Earth.
Yeah. Earth had gotten knocked out of orbit, like, way in the beginning because Nick Fury and the guys at S.H.I.E.L.D. found out, because when Thanos got so mad at Lady Death in the beginning, he just unleashed this wave of energy that just, like... I mean, you saw it in the comics, like, there were, like, earthquakes, like, the whole west coast of the country, like, fell off, and the islands of Japan went missing. And
yeah, because he threw a tantrum.
Then it shows back to Earth later on in the comic, and it's just this complete, like, tundra wasteland, and there's, like, beings and monsters and villains from other realities that are coming in and taking over Earth, and I was like, I'm so glad I wasn't the one in charge of cleaning up that mess. Because, girl, that was a mess. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I was an Avenger. It'd be really cool, and then I'm like...
You're not liable for
or not. Like, that's too much responsibility. Like, I don't want to get out of bed today. You're telling me I have to save the world? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Have Iron Man do it. Like Captain America can do it. Because Cap was, like, the last one standing in this. He was, like, just like Steve Rogers' MCU. Like, he was like, as long as I'm here, you haven't won. So...
But this was actually really good. This is the first time that I had read through it, and like we said, it was so much different than what I had gone in expecting, and was thoroughly thrilled with it.
It's definitely very different, but it's also, it gives you so much more of a picture, I think, of just how big the universe is, and just how different things were in the comics compared to, like, the MCU. And don't get me wrong, the MCU films are fantastic, and I love them, but I definitely, you know, having the comic knowledge, and it just gives me such a deeper appreciation for it, because we also get way cooler characters in this that we may not really see in the MCU, at least not yet, until all the reboots happen. But
it'll definitely give us a lot to talk about for a long time. I think we're going to continue to do this thing where I read a comic for the first time, and then they explain to me everything that I've just read.
Yes, I'm excited to do. I definitely want to do the X-23 comics. I mean, I could sit here right now and give you a whole backstory, but I really want you to read it and, like, experience it for yourself. And then we are also going to do a MCU Civil War film versus Civil War comic, because when I tell you that the comics, technically I should say, because there's so many of them, like, you watch the Civil War movie and you're like, oh, Steve started a war to save Bucky, and then you read the comics and you're like, oh no, that wasn't even, that's not even what happened, like, at all, like, completely different from what actually happened. So I would love for us to sit down and do a direct comparison, because there's a lot of information in that too.
And we're going to have a lot of content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So.
Alright guys, well, let us know what you think. Check this out. Read it for yourself. Let us know the things that we missed. Let's see some, you know, comparisons.
Get the app. Get the app. I'll put a link down below. It's $10 a month. Like, I am a true nerd. I am at the superior nerd level right now, okay? Like, and they literally have everything. It's completely worth it if you want to get nerd knowledgeable.
That's what I'm doing. That is what I am here to do.
We are educating the American people. I'm doing God's work.
Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and check us back here later.